morning, everyone. I bought some alfalfa silage from a friend of mine, so I'm gonna go pick up 3 bales just to give it a try. And I got old Smoky fired this morning. It's a little bit colder than I thought it would be. She made it, so that's good. My truck doesn't have a functioning fuel gauge, and I don't feel like running out on the side of the road, so. Oh yeah, lots of fuel. Well, I lost a headlight. Thankfully it was still attached when I looked outside, but I'll have to go fix that. This guy's a professional farmer. He's got a Fendt. Well, we're back on the road again. I'm only driving about 10 miles to get home, and it's all back road, so I didn't bother strapping them because there's only 3 bales on and they're heavy as everything. So take it nice and easy. Don't try and hit any sweet jumps on the way home, and we should be good to go. It's a really big bump here, and I'm trying not to break the deck in half. Slow and steady, that's how it's done. So it's the next morning after we put these ewes and lambs out here, the new ones. And I'm just walking through. We're right on the edge of it being too warm to start getting muddy. They definitely need a bale of straw in here. It's just looking too thin. But I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's always nerve-wracking when you see a lamb that looks like it's dead, but he's like a teenager and he's just stretching out in the sun. Wake up, buddy. Lambs have a habit of sleeping like they're dying. So you look out and you're like, oh great, there's a dead one. Nope, he's just having a good time. Whenever you can spend a morning walking through the lambs and everything looks calm and there's no non-breathers, then it's a good time. Got a couple health issues with some ewes right now, which is not uncommon. I try and keep a cull rate of at least 5%, preferably 10. So in a group of 140, there's 14 in here. I know they are not going to be here next year, and that's how I like it. I wish I would have culled harder sooner and had better sheep, but we're getting there. It takes time. So I've talked before how Monday is maintenance day. That way nothing gets skipped and I don't go weeks without things getting greased. Also make sure to keep my battery charged on the mixer. And today's Monday, so I'm gonna do that right now. Make sure you don't hook it up backwards. Also get the straw out of there so you don't set it on fire. Black to negative, red to positive. Good, charging. This PTO shaft is a CV joint on it, and it's important to keep that greased. It is nice, whoever made this driveline, all the grease nipples line up. Sometimes that's not the case on farm equipment. Usually stuff made out of Europe, they like to screw with you and print in the manual that it actually is able to be greased, but most of the time it's not. And this conveyor has 4 bearings on it, 2 at the back and 2 at the front. Just climbing on the inside of my mixer here. It's been a few weeks since I've looked in here, and with the new alfalfa bales, I'm going to want to make sure I've got good quality knives going. So these are aftermarket knives. Made by some company out of the States. They're supposed to wear better, but I don't think they cut as good quality. They're pretty thick, and they definitely take more horsepower. Then the other thing that I run is, these are called bale slicers, I guess. And it's a vertical knife bolted on top of the horizontal knife. And this is one of Supreme's knives. It's a lot sharper, but it's thinner. I find the Supreme knives wear out quicker, and they break very easily, but they do cut better. And then this upright knife, it takes a lot of extra horsepower. I noticed that right away, but it seems to make quite a difference, especially doing silage bales. And with the alfalfa bales, they're already pre-cut, but I'm mixing straw in there that hasn't been cut or tub ground. So every little bit of slicing action I can get makes a difference. There is a point where you can continually add knives. You can drill holes in the screw to add knives. But from everyone that I've kind of talked to, there is a point where it doesn't seem to make that much of a difference, and all it does is take more horsepower. I've got enough power to run this thing now, but as soon as I start putting in whole bales or silage bales, then it really starts to pull it down. So I'm just inspecting everything, looking at every knife, making sure all the teeth are there. This is the other bale knife here. There's two across from each other, and I set them right in line with these things. These are called wedges. And these wedges, their idea is as material slides around in this tub, these create a little bit of resistance so it doesn't just continually spin everything. And it's important too to keep these bolts fresh. If these wear out, or if the knife wears down enough and it wears the head of this bolt off, you can't actually get that bolt out and replace the knife. That gets really expensive real fast. I know I did break one knife this year. Yeah, you can see it here. It took a couple of the outside teeth off. And I think I must have baled a massive rock, because I found a big rock in the feed bunk. And that's not really ideal, especially when it's the low knife. So I might need to go to the dealer and get a different knife, but they're really expensive. That's not what I want to see though. And I won't replace knives for quite a while, because I don't run this thing nearly as much as some feed mixers get run. Mine gets run once a day for like half an hour, if that. And that's not a lot of work for a feed mixer. Well, I'm pretty confident my tractor will not be able to lift these, so getting them off is going to be a challenge. I think, and he loaded them with a clamp, so there's no holes in the plastic. I might try and push them off, but they're so heavy, I'm afraid I'm going to break the deck. I guess we'll just kind of find out here. All right, well that worked way better than I thought it would. I built this deck and I don't think it's very strong side to side, so I'm always a little nervous of that, but it surprises me what it can handle. Now I'm gonna open the plastic up on this bale, see what we got. Well, this bale looks better than any of my silage bales that I've made. It smells good all the way through. Boy, that's nice stuff. I'm a little bit concerned with alfalfa silage. You can get a lot of different molds and stuff, especially when it's as wet as it is in bale form. This came out of a really good baler. It had knives, and it's not too wet. It's about 50% moisture, so from what I can see, I'm not seeing any mold on the outside edges, which is pretty standard, especially if you have a John Deere baler. And I'm gonna unroll it here and put some in the mixer, see what it looks like. So I just unroll on the ground what I need, and then I'll put that in the mixer here. Let's go take a look and see what we can. So I'm keeping an eye out for any different odd color molds, anything like that. White mold is kind of standard, comes from dirt in the silage. This stuff is pretty coarse, but I'm not really worried about that because I know what the feed content was. There's lots of leaf matter. I'm not seeing any blue or yellow or odd green colored mold. All those kind of collars are bad news for sheep. White mold is bad for sheep too. I'm really pleased with this bale. If I could have like a bunch more of these, that would be great. It's a pretty good way to buy feed. Well, that little bit turned out to be 400 pounds in the mixer, but there was quite a bit of snow in there, so I'm gonna guess that was 300. I want to add 400 pounds per day of this into the ration, which at 50% feeding 300 sheep works out to a little bit more than half a pound per ewe. And everything's varied because the moisture between each bale can change. It's not like pit silage where it is more consistent. This would be a good time to add, but I only run this mixer half full because I don't have enough sheep. But I got a really good deal on this mixer. I bought it used, and it's gonna serve me for the rest of my sheep career if I take care of it. So there is a disadvantage when it doesn't mix very well because it's not full. I have to let the mixer run for a couple more minutes just because it's more long stem material. Cutter balers are great, but I've kind of found they're not all that they're cracked up to be, and they are no comparison to a proper silage chopper. And feed mixers, contrary to what your salesman might tell you, feed mixers are not a feed processor. They can size material a little bit, but especially with sheep, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Tub grinders or silage choppers, that's what you need. I only have one of those. I have a silage chopper, and I have to keep it under lock and key or else the scrap metal guy will try and steal it from me. But it does work for what I need. I try and make do with what this thing can produce. So there's still some long stem material in there. There's a couple challenges. You want to reduce the size to reduce sorting in the TMR for sheep. And the other thing is getting the sheep to actually eat the whole stem. I'm not worried about that with this because this alfalfa silage was installed all the way through. And I find with sheep, they will lick every last drop up if it's properly installed. It's mixed good enough for me. It won't plug up the feed cart. We're going to see what we can do here. That smells absolutely beautiful. I call that some nice feed. I think these sheep are going to do really well on it. So I'm just checking the ration here. There's lots of grain in there. This is why I hammer mill my barley, because it makes it a little bit tougher to sort through. Those stems are longer than they should be. That's not perfect, but nothing about this sheep farm is perfect. That's called profitable right there. Could be better. There's no doubt about that. All the long stems here are from straw. If I tub ground my straw, I would not have this issue. I don't set my silage chopper as tight as it can be either. So, and it's a pretty old chopper, so there's a lot of long stuff does get through it. But you know what, I'm really happy with this. That alfalfa should add a lot to it. And it's a really good feeling when you've got good quality feed going into your sheep and they eat all of it. You don't have issues with feed intake and you don't have issues with quality. And at this point in the year, I don't have issues with inventory, so good on all accounts. Stuck. Oh, okay. Concerned about this ewe. This is the second time I've seen her off by herself today. She's bagged right up and she's really big. I'm a little bit concerned that she's breached, but I haven't seen any signs of water bag or anything yet. I'm just gonna keep a close eye on her. Trying to get to Bible study tonight, which I have to leave in about an hour and a half. So she's probably gonna start lambing in about an hour and a half. That's usually how it goes. When that feed comes out of my mixer conveyor, kind of makes a mess, so I make sure and clean it up every day, and then you don't get behind on that. I already fed you, greedy sheep. There she is at the back of the barn. That's not a good look. Not the look I was hoping to see. Well, I took the gamble and I went to Bible study and left this ewe by herself. And she had 3. They're decent size. She's up licking them off, so that's good. She didn't have any water bag or anything showing when I left. Well, it's a good feeling. Everything's bedded. Lambs are looking good. There's one sick ewe I'm gonna go treat right now. It's nice knowing that they've got really good feed and they're gonna eat it up good. So between bedding, really good feed, things are just looking good. Lambs are looking healthy. It's about as happy as I can be for the day. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.